Your daily fix of women's mixed martial arts from the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and one championship. Be in the loop, because Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your fix of women's MMA. We've got you covered on Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Women's MMA Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sarah, and we have another special episode for you today. Will and Tate recently sat down to talk about some news in the world of MMA, and I joined them for the segment to talk about things going on in women's MMA, namely the upcoming fight between Cyborg and Holly Holm. We thought maybe that was not going to happen, but as it turns out, Cyborg got a new contract with the UFC, and that fight is on for December 30th. So the three of us sit down to talk about what we think will happen, who we think will win, and what we hope will happen in that fight. So let's go ahead and jump right into that conversation between me, Tate, and Will.
We are about to cover what's been going on with Chris Cyborg and the announcement of Chris Cyborg's new contract and the fact that she has just agreed to fight Holly Holm. But before we do this, Will has been with us on air with us. Say hi, Will.
Hi.
Never say hi to me like that ever again in life.
Hi.
And the very sweet but extremely tough, we also have Sarah.
Now I can't even say hi. I'm just laughing at you.
You're quietly strong.
I was going to say hi, but then I was laughing too hard.
Yeah. So we got Will, Sarah, and myself, and we are going to talk about Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm. And first off, was any of you guys surprised that they signed this contract?
Not really. I mean, they need to do something, and that division. I mean, if they're going to do anything with that division, they have to figure something out. So, right now, it's like Cyborg's the only person in that division, so they better do something with her, and they better figure out what's going on with her contract.
What about you, Will?
I'm not surprised, but it seems like the division is as thin as any division has ever been.
Okay. The reason why I'm surprised is the contract that they gave. It sounds like it's only like 15 months. Don't quote me on it. It's a very short period. It's like it's not like a 2-year contract or
no. You're right. It's 15 months.
It's 15 months
with a possibility of 4 fights.
Yes, 4 fights or 15 months, and then she's a free agent. But she also has that champions clause that all UFC fighters have, is a champion clause. Were you surprised that they only made it a 4-fight deal for 15 months, Will?
No, this is the Cyborg experiment era. We're going to see how it plays out, and I think that's what the UFC is doing. And to me, it's rightfully so, because they're seeing how little and thin this division is attracting in terms of excitement, so I think that's what's happening here.
Now, and I agree with you on that one. My big problem is it is clear they're not 100% committed to Cyborg as of yet. It's kind of a wait and see situation but you still have the greatest women's mixed martial arts fighter in history. Now, the next thing is, let's talk about the fight. There was a lot of things being held up with this fight, and I thought this fight was dead. And now it is going to happen now. I'm going to start with, who wants to go first? Either you or Will. How you think this fight's going to go, and who do you think is going to win?
Oh, go ahead, Will.
All right, so I see this fight as being a mauling. I think Cyborg.
I was shocked you said
put it
mauling.
on Holly, and I just don't see. I don't see Holly being able to handle her pressure. She didn't look very impressive against Besh Kohea, and that was Besh Kohea. This Cyborg is another level to this game. She's got the weight advantage. She's got the size advantage. It's not, to me, it's not going to be pretty.
Interesting. So
so I'm going to say you need to go next because you have like the opposite opinion.
Okay, so then Sarah's directing me. Okay, this is not like the Tanya Evinger thing where I was just making a statement because you know I love Tanya and that's my little man crush, or platonic crush. That wouldn't be a man crush. That would be more of a platonic crush on Tanya Evinger. This is a straight up take. Sarah, I have, and I'm going to use the old WWE moniker here. The Legend Killer is going to rear her ugly head again. Not saying that Holly's ugly, just saying that Chrissy Martley was the most dangerous woman boxer in the world. Holly stopped her. Ronda Rousey was the most feared UFC fighter. Holly stopped her. Chris Cyborg is considered the greatest women's fighter ever and the most dangerous women's fighter ever. And Holly is going to stop her. And the reason why Holly is going to stop her, Will and Sarah, is this. Cyborg is made perfect for Holly Holm. Holly is a counterpuncher. If you make Holly come to you kind of like way Miesha Tate, Holly is very, very vulnerable. But if you come charging at her like a raging bull, just the way Ronda Rousey did, it is textbook what Holly wants. Holly wants that more than anything. She is a counterpuncher. Second thing is, Holly is a boxer, and Holly has some of the best footwork in boxing. She has some of the best footwork in MMA as well. She's going to be able to, one, with her footwork, keep Cyborg off of her. She's not going to get ran over like a lot of her opponents. Second thing is, Holly can shoot for angles and not take a lot of punishment, unlike everyone else. Holly can keep her distance and counter off of the aggression that Cyborg has, hit her with angles, and Holly can knock out a man with that head kick of hers. And she has caught many, many fighters. I always go back to like Rashard Evans talking about him sparring with her, and he wasn't paying attention, and she caught him with that head kick. That head kick is dangerous. I see, and this is not my heart. Styles make fight. I got Holly winning this straight cold. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is on this one. I'm actually going to place a bet on this one. This is going to be an upset. Will, do you think I'm crazy? And Sarah, how crazy am I? You want to go first, Sarah?
I don't think you're crazy. I see where you're coming from, and I think if Holly can get past that first initial rush that Cyborg tends to do, that it's going to be a pretty evenly matched fight, that they are going to be that she's going to be able to stand up against what Cyborg brings. I don't have the total level of confidence that you do that Holly's going to nail her with that head kick, but if she does, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Now, for me, you know that I always come at these things with a little bit of not ever wanting anybody to lose, but
okay. And
I like them both, and I feel like they both have so much riding on this fight, and I just, it's hard for me because they do have so much. Holly lost 3 in a row, and then she won, and she kind of came back a little bit, but she's still on shaky ground. Cyborg is in this kind of wait-and-see holding pattern with the UFC, where she's in the UFC, but she's not really being that well supported by the UFC. So I want good things for both of them, dang it.
Well, not everybody gets fruit cup here, so no.
I want
there's
fruit
a winner
cup for
and a loser.
everyone, darn it.
Will, hit me. What's your thoughts?
I can see where it's coming from. I just don't see it happening because in a lot of the fights that I've seen, Holly is just so timid, and she does have the power to knock anybody out. It's just that Cyborg is going to be very patient yet aggressive with her. And when she crowds her space and she's pressuring her up against the fence, I don't see Holly Holm throwing that kick. I don't see her throwing her punches right. I don't see that happening. And I kind of saw how the fight would play out in a sense with her fight against Jermaine Durandamy. I think it's going to be similar to that fight in terms of where the fighters are going to be in the cage, in the orientation of the cage. It's just that Cyborg is another level, and I don't think that she's going to be able to handle it. And I think Jermaine knew that, and that's why she kind of dropped out of that division.
So we have a little bit of a disagreement going on between Will and Tate as to what they think is going to happen in this fight. As usual, I'm in the middle with my, Switzerland mentality. I like to be Switzerland. I like to be neutral, especially when Will and Tate get going. At any rate, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be talking more about Cyborg and Holly Holm, more about how we think that fight is going to go, and Will and Tate are going to make a friendly, not so friendly, you be the judge, wager as to who they think will win. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with the GSMC Women's MMA podcast.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Women's MMA podcast. I went ahead and made some popcorn during that break because I'm going to sit back and watch Will and Tate, or I guess listen to Will and Tate, argue about who they think is going to win this fight between Cyborg and Holly Holm, because they both have very differing opinions on that. And as I said, I like to be Switzerland and just sit back and watch and see what happens. So let's get back to that conversation.
Now, this one... Like when you talk about Holly being a little timid, I agree. Holly, this is the reason why I don't make and I'm a big fan of both of these ladies, but I don't say Holly's the greatest fighter ever lived or anything like that. But I do say that the reason why Holly is naturally a timid fighter, meaning she wants you to come at her, and every single time. Every time, even boxing, all the way to her MMA career, whenever you have an aggressive fighter that comes at Holly, that's when Holly is at her best. Holly is not, her style is not to lead the show, not to barrel you over. That's why she's not so as spectacular as some fighters. She wants you to come at her, and then she catches you. And so that's why I think in this particular case, just the style makes fights. It's kind of crazy that I'm picking, against Cyborg, but I just don't see it. What's your thoughts, Will?
I guess I'll be putting money on the opposite end. We can make a bet.
I will officiate this bet and not participate in it. I am Switzerland.
Oh no, I'm definitely willing to take a bet on this one.
I will be the one that monitors this bet for you.
Are we going to put some stakes on this one, Will? What do you want to bet on this one?
Actual stakes?
Yeah, what's the over under for you?
I'm saying, well, Cyborg's going to be the huge favorite, so I got to get some. I got to get some. I got to
make it worth your while, right?
Yes. Let's see. What are we gonna put on this? I have no clue. We'll have to think about that. But I'm dead serious. This is not me just being a fan of Tanya Evinger. I just think this is the fight that matches up well. Like with Cyborg and Gina Carano, you had two fighters that were always that pushed forward. You had with her and Tanya Evinger. Tanya Evinger is a fighter that was kind of, come at you first. And Tanya had to fight a fight that wasn't her normal game. Holly's going to be happy moving and hopping around and moving and jabbing and keeping her at a distance and not getting caught on the cage. And you don't see a lot of people catching Holly on the cage. So that's why I just think it's going to be an interesting one. Anyone else has any more any other thoughts on this before we wrap this one?
Well, it's a little bit over a month away, so we'll be talking about our wager pretty soon.
You know what? We got to think about this one because I'm thinking we have to put something real. This is it's crazy. I really look forward to seeing this fight because I'm expecting a total upset.
And don't forget, you're going to have to do it before our buddy Will goes on his whirlwind adventure.
I know, before he goes to Asia.
Yeah.
So, will you be? Are you going to be in the? You'll be in the U.S. during that fight, or will you be in Asia at that time?
Well, it's I'm actually leaving for Asia on the 15th of January. This fight's going to be the New Year's card, so I'll be around.
All right.
Okay.
So looking forward, we're gonna put some interesting stakes on this one.
See, now if Will loses, he can run away to Asia. If you lose, you're just stuck here.
I know. Also, before we wrap this one up, one other thing is Kat Zingano is actually just going to change the subject to another female fighter in that division. And picking of someone that wants to fight Cyborg is that Kat Zingano will be coming back. I think at the end of this year, or the beginning of next year.
She's fighting against Caitlin Vieira on March 3rd at UFC 222.
Dang, Will, you're good to have around.
Oh, why do you think I have Will around?
Well, I know that, but I just like to give him props.
He's my Stockton connection.
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, do you need a Stockton connection?
Yes, I do. Who else is going to introduce me and get me the introduction with the Diaz brothers and
True story
and Gracie. That's Will.
That's Will. Okay.
Okay, so
hopefully I'm not connecting you with anything else.
Yeah, that's about all I want to be connected with Stockton. No offense. Okay, so with Kat coming back, do you think that she can make a run at either the bantamweight title or the featherweight title?
I think she can, but it's been so long since we've seen her. I mean, I feel like,
she lost to Juliana Pena, and then I haven't heard from her since. I guess she had some issues or some things going on. I don't want to speculate on that one, but yeah.
Right. Then you have to, there's the whole concept of ring rust and just being out for so long and then coming back to a division that really has changed since she left. I mean,
changed.
It's hugely different than when she left. So I can't even fully speculate on, because I haven't seen her, so I don't know.
It's just nice to see her back in the ring. Mm-hmm. Were you ever a big fan of Kat Zingano, Will?
I was a huge fan of her. I think that she has more heart than probably 90-95% of fighters out there. And it's just that the stakes didn't match up with her, and she really took a fall with that Ronda Rousey fight. She was overly emotional with that, but I can never question her heart and her fighting spirit.
All right. Mm-hmm. That is a good way to wrap this one up. Is there any, before I left, anyone else have anything else? You want to talk about Paige Van Zandt? Anything else before and Paige is going to be having her first I always get flyweight and featherweight mixed up because it's the
F alliteration?
Yes. Which one is it, Will? Above strawweight?
It's going to be flyweight.
Flyweight. Paige is going to be making her flyweight debut coming up soon as well. So that's something else to keep a lookout.
We're going to have to talk about that when we got it.
We'll be talking about that on the women's mixed martial arts show in the next week or so. So with that, we're going to wrap this portion up, and then when we come back, Will will hit me with a few other interesting topics.
Well, I'm going to duck out and let you two talk about your interesting topics. I just like to come in and talk about the girls. But I do want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and to Will and to all of our listeners. Go out there and eat your weight in pie.
I like that's a good way to end your segment on this one.
And on my somewhat ridiculous comment of eating your weight in pie, that concludes this episode of the GSMC Women's MMA podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next time as we talk about all the news, upcoming events, recaps of women's MMA. In the meantime, you can find all of our podcasts at www.gsmcpodcast.com. You can download those podcasts on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, any app that you use for your mobile device, and you can follow us on social media. What do you think about Cyborg Holly Holm? Who do you see winning? How do you see that fight playing out? Do you have predictions? Do you agree with Will? Do you agree with Tate? Are you Switzerland? Do you like to just remain neutral and see what happens? Let us know on social media. You can find us at Facebook and Twitter, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again next time. In the meantime, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you again later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Women's Mixed Martial Arts Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.